We got one of the Pirate Bay founders is even starting to warn the government about the fucking mafia known as the RIAA and MPA. And this guy would know, but if you guys have been listening to me for the past few years, you know that I call this group, the RIAA and MPA, I call them the MAFIAA for a fucking reason. I have for years. If we let these fuckers go, if we don't bankrupt them and put them out of business ASAP, they will destroy the internet. These organizations are more responsible for the shitty state the internet is in right now than governments, be that the EU, the US, China. None of these world governments has done more damage to the internet than this fucking mafia. So Pirate Bay founder warns US government against mafia-esque copyright lobby. Now spell it correctly. MAFIAA in all caps. As one of the original founders of the Pirate Bay, Peter Sunday has made a name for himself over the past 2 decades. While he is no longer associated with the site, copyright holders still see him as a threat. Sunday, for his part, is warning against the power of American corporations, the power American corporations have on the internet. In a letter to the U.S. Trade Representative, he sounds the alarm bell. Peter Sunday was one of the key people behind the Pirate Bay in the early years, a role which he eventually paid with his freedom. Oh, wow. Did they actually arrest him for that shit? Damn. Now, that's another thing, man. Imagine having your whole life destroyed over, pirating a fucking movie. While he cut ties with the notorious torrent site many years ago, his activist nature hasn't vanished. This is one of the few good activists out there. Most activists, they don't actually care. They just want to virtue signal and get back pats. But this guy actually faced fucking jail time. He is still fighting, knowing what these guys can do to him. This is a true activist right here. In recent years, Sunday has focused on several other projects. His links to the domain registration service RIAA and the iPredator VPN, which merged recently, are well known. Now we get to our good old buddies, the RIAA and MPA. Coincidence or not, many copyright holders are not happy with these ventures either. This month, several copyright industry groups reported RIAA to the U.S. Trade Representative, branding it a notorious market. According to the RIAA and MPA, services such as RIAA are a threat because they offer extensive privacy protection to domain name registrants. Yeah, see, this fucking bullshit. Most of the time, when the government is cracking down on internet privacy and freedom on the internet, they always use either, oh my God, think of the chillins, we have to stop child porn and sex trafficking. They either use that excuse, or they go, oh my God, we need to stop the terrorists. We can't let terrorists communicate privately on the internet. But when these private corporations do it, they're like, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to be private on the internet because if we don't like something you do, we need to be able to sue you and shut you down. And they've been the most successful. So this ultimately prevents copyright holders from identifying the operators of pirate sites. Good. Holy shit. Once again, I fucking hope that we at least get one little bit of silver lining with this government lockdown bullshit. I hope all the organizations that make up the MPA and RIAA go bankrupt and disappear. Because if they were gone, the internet would be a much better place. It is no secret that RIAA was founded to offer privacy for domain registrants. Indeed, the company sees privacy as a fundamental right, a right that is increasingly threatened. So what did I just say at the beginning of this article? That this mafia organization, the RIAA and MPA, are the biggest threats to the internet out there, even bigger than totalitarian governments. This fucking proves it. These corporations want to remove your right to privacy because it inconveniences them. If we do not crush these fuckers ASAP, they will succeed in completely destroying the internet. Instead of staying on the sidelines, Peter Sunday decided to write a letter to the USTR as well. Not to defend Nyala per se, but to warn against the threat major U.S. corporations present to the internet. I don't know if you're going to succeed pitching this case in the U.S., but this is one of those times when power on the internet needs to be decentralized again. Being mentioned both by name and also through some of my earlier performance pieces, I felt it would be justified that I also bring a comment for the good of the discourse, Sunday writes in his letter. As you might know, I'm one of the people that was involved in the early times of the Pirate Bay, one of my more known art pieces. I love how he mentions that. Sunday notes, adding that the artwork was exhibited at prestigious festivals, inspiring millions of artists and fans around the world. Over the years, Sunday has launched several projects to support internet freedom, freedom of speech, and online privacy. At the same time, however, he watched major U.S. companies use their powers to centralize the internet and restrict the free flow of information. And all the cucks who were perfectly fine with the internet consolidating around a few tech giants, now I'm actually laughing watching them complain about being censored. Like, well, when we were trying to warn you, it's not a good idea to give Facebook and Twitter and Google all the power. You called me a conspiracy theorist, so you know what? Fuck you. I don't care if you get censored. You're the one that allowed it to happen in the first place. You know, you could just avoid that by not using social media. Now, I even got a friend too. Like, he keeps saying that he misses the way the internet used to be when it actually had a skill barrier. Like, there was a barrier to entry. You actually had to know how to use computers to get on the internet even. And then it became so easy with modern browsers that now everyone's on it. And he was saying he wishes it could go back to that. And I told him, it's like, dude, that's what the dark web is. The dark web is basically what the entire internet used to be when it was first starting out. If you want that experience again, if you want to ditch the fucking normies, do that. But now he's like, I'm too lazy. I know, right? But a lot of communities are thankfully doing that. A lot of communities are going underground again. Now, I've actually heard people wondering, like, oh, wow, where are all those like lolly communities that used to be everywhere? Well, they've learned their lesson. They know if they stay on the surface, they're just going to keep getting banned everywhere. So they created invite-only private forums that they all hang out on now. And you're never going to find them because they don't want you there. That's how the internet is supposed to operate. Yeah, remember the days before search engines? How fun it was finding websites? It was pretty much like just word of mouth, really. Like, oh, some magazine put a website in one of their articles or something, or just talking with friends. That was fun. But that's what we're seeing a lot more of now. Now that certain groups, they're just getting sick and tired of constantly being banned off of the surface web. So they just say, okay, screw you then. We're just going to go completely underground. And now a lot of these people that like they made it their fucking goal crusading against people who like drawings that they don't like. And now those people are gone and they're starting to turn on their own now, which is, it's fucking hilarious. I love seeing that. The centralization threat. As a result, the established differences in the physical world are more and more reflected online. Those with power and money have the most influence and control. And they are not going to give up that influence and control without a fight. This is something that is very much the fault of the few central North American companies and their bribing efforts, Sunday writes. We are now living in a world with fake news and trolls as presidents. We can't take the rights to information for granted. We should not centralize the control over information in any shape or form. Dude, I appreciate what you're doing, but you are never gonna win the government over with this argument. Are you seriously gonna tell the government that wants centralized control over information that it shouldn't happen? You literally just lost the fight right there. We're gonna have to find a way to trick the government into thinking it would be a good idea to decentralize. The letter is not so much about the fact that Nyala has been nominated as a notorious market. In fact, it isn't even mentioned at all. Instead, it's a frontal attack on the lobbying efforts by wealthy organizations that are trying to control the internet. This critique isn't new. The Pirate Bay was founded to make it easier for people to share whatever they want. The site aims to make information free, a mantra Sunday still supports today. So who are the good guys here? So do you think these giant corporations that wants to literally own you, you think they're the good guys? Or do you think the guys who happen to pirate some of the things these corporations put out, but actually support freedom, are they the good guys? There's not really much gray area there to me. Increasingly, major U.S. companies are trying to seize control over the information that's shared online to further their own interests, Sundi says. This has to stop. You know how you stop corporations from doing that? You have the government take the power from the corporations, and then now the government's doing it. So nothing changes. Information is the cornerstone of our cultural heritage, democracy, common knowledge, and common language. This should not be something that a few opportunistic rich lobbying organizations should get the right to dictate terms for, he writes. Now, what's anyone going to do about it? Other than going underground, claiming that basically half of the internet, half of the world are enemies of one's business model should rather be a wake-up call to realizing that this business model is archaic and it's time to adapt to reality. Yeah, I've said the same fucking thing, actually. These boomer organizations are stuck in an outdated business model that should have died the moment the internet came into existence. Now, normally, they would have just died away if they failed to adapt. But instead, they flexed their existing money, power, and influence to just crush competition via government power. The Pirate Bay co-founder knows all too well what he's up against. The same companies had him followed and ultimately sent him to prison. However, that wasn't just according to Sundi. Mafia-esque practices. Well, what do I always say? The government is really just the biggest mafia on the block right now. So they love this type of shit. While powerful industry groups may claim to represent artists, Sundi believes that power and money are the true drivers here. You could find evidence of that by how much money do these artists who are suckered into signing these contracts by these mega corporations, how much money do the artists actually make? They get nothing. I mean, look at the comics industry. The vast majority of creatives in the comic industry, the mainstream one anyway, they slave away for decades making other people billions of dollars while they get peanuts. And then as soon as they're not useful anymore, they just get fired and they get nothing. You're not helping the artists at all when you go after piracy. The hit the artists take is almost nothing. It's the fucking suits. It's the fat cats on top. They're the ones that are looking at the numbers like, I just lost $50 million from my bonus. I need to do something about this. The same organizations that promise to protect artists and culture are the ones screwing them over. Always fiscally, like Hollywood accounting. Yup. Sometimes physically, like Harvey Weinstein is not the first nor the last one. Literally screwing them over, yes. This comes at the expense of the public at large, who see their power and control of information diminish rapidly. See, here's the thing. It's just like with Walmart. I've seen people who try to be the activists and they try to virtue signal for backpats. They would talk about how evil Walmart is and how it kills small business. Meanwhile, they go to Walmart every fucking week as opposed to their small business. South Park did a good fucking episode about that. People are voluntarily giving up everything for a little bit of convenience, and then they fucking bitch about it. So cue the Joker, you get what you fucking deserve meme here. These organizations are willingly putting our global democracy in jeopardy. The legislation brought forward by their bribing to protect one business model affected by the internet is also being used for stopping people in opposition from overthrowing dictators. Agreed. As long as these mafia-esque organizations are allowed free reign over the immaterial rights discourse, they will never relinquish their power nor money to the intended recipients, he warns, aka the artists. Yeah, so it's just like with game development. The executives, the shareholders, the investors, the bloat are sucking away billions and billions of dollars. And the developers who actually make the product, the artists who actually make the thing that sustains everyone's paychecks, get pocket change out of it. This shit does need to stop. If you want to protect artists, you will fight to destroy the MPA and RIAA. These are strong words and harsh accusations, but Sunday stands behind them 100%. He believes that it's time to invent new business models that benefit not just major companies, but also artists and the public at large. Crowdfunding, right? Yeah, that's working out well. That's why the legacy industry fucking hates our guts. The only reason that we're still around is because Marvel and DC were so weak, they couldn't afford to fight us. But meanwhile, some of these bigger industries, they still have a lot more power. And speaking of new business models, you got that's how CD Projekt Red grew as big as they did. No DRM. They just release good shit. While the USTR aims to protect copyright holders and American corporate interests, Sunday urges the office to keep track of the broader picture. After all, the government is supposed to serve the people, not just privileged corporations. Okay, you know what? If the people wants to be served, they need to give as much money via lobbying, aka bribery, as the major corporations. And then that's how the politicians see it. It's like, you know what? The only thing these plebs are good for is votes. The only time I'm going to pretend to care about them during the election cycle, but afterwards, they're not the ones paying me. It's the big corporations that are paying me. I'm going to do what they say. These are not righteous organizations. Yeah, even when Google claimed do no evil, they were still very fucking evil. These are not the voice of the people. These are not elected officials. They are the antithesis of that. Keep that in mind, making your decisions and own thoughts going forward, Sunday concludes. And since the government wants centralized power and control, they're just going to ignore him. They don't care. In this case, corporate and government interests align 100%. Both governments and corporations want complete control of the internet. So we have no one on our side in this fight. It's just us. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.